All right, guys, welcome back to another case study. Today I'm here with my client Chase.
What's going on, guys? My name is Chase, and I've been working with Dylan Hunter for about 6 months now, and I live in Indiana.
First thing I want to talk about is obviously the couple deals that you have closed and like the stuff you currently have under contract. So if you want to talk about the two assignments that you just did, and then from there we can just kind of get into the contracts that you have out right now.
Yeah, so the two assignments I just did, one was in Kansas City, and then another one was in Richmond, and they're both from SMS marketing. That's what I've been doing for about 6 months. It's been good. I've just been getting better at acquisitions. Um, but finding a buyer wise, I just use Facebook, but really just doing the outreach on the SMS and working on my acquisitions has kind of just led to getting deals in my lap. But I kind of just focus on putting in the offers, and
Hmm.
that's about it. So.
And that first deal, let's just go for the one that closed last week. What'd you get it
Mhm.
under contract for? What did you think it was going to sell for, and what'd you end up assigning it for?
Yeah, so I got that one at 55, and then I actually ended up JVing with someone, and we assigned it at 61, and so I walked away with three on that one.
Okay, yeah. And then the other one, what was the numbers on that one?
So the other one, this was another JV. I had it at 21, and then the end buyer took it at 25, and then we split that right there. And then there's actually another one in Texas right now that was a 9K spread that just has some title issues with it right now. Those are getting worked out.
Fire. And as far as like, didn't you? I remember we were talking on a group call a couple weeks back, and you had a couple other contracts. Are those looking good? How are those looking?
Yeah, so one of them, the buyer, he kind of flaked out last minute. And then ended up having to find someone who was new. And so the spread went from 5K, but I got someone who's at 8K now. So it's just a $2,000 less, but still a 3K spread. But I just had to extend the timeline, get an amendment, and then just had a lower spread. But I still figured that one out.
And I know we talked about it. A lot of your contracts have been like really cheap, and like the assignment fees have been small. You
Yeah.
have been doing a good amount of assignments, but it's just like the kind of areas you're targeting. It's just like really small,
Yeah.
low key areas, so you're getting like that low purchase price, which is leading to getting low assignments. But
Yeah, and honestly, what I'm focusing on now too is like I would rather have one or two like great contracts in a month
mhm,
than like three or four just ones that I'm not 100% confident in. So that's what
exactly.
I'm trying to focus on because if you do $3,000 assignments, it's the same as one $10,000 one.
Exactly. Now that you're sitting on a little bit more capital, you have a little bit more breathing room. You have the like acquisition skills now to like work those
Hmm.
bigger deals, and you
Hmm.
definitely have the skills to negotiate sellers deeper. It's just kind of
Hmm.
getting into that routine. Also, data selection has a pretty big role in that. Being able to
Yeah,
pick
exactly.
better markets, higher ARVs, it's going to help with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's literally it. I started with two sub accounts and then, I kind of just needed to learn the acquisition side of it because I didn't want to waste any money that I was putting towards capital if I didn't know what I was doing. But I just added a third sub account, added a VA as well, just to help me filter through those leads. And so it's honestly just awesome now because it's actually like I'm not touching every single part of the business. I can just have
Hmm.
someone who's working for me when I'm not, actually doing everything. So.
Yes, sir. And with those two deals, how did the title process go? That go smooth?
Yeah, so it was smooth-ish because on one of them there was two amendments because originally I had them at 70 and then there was a foundation issue with the property. And so I explained that to him though. I don't think it's an issue because the seller wasn't aware of it. And if I come to him and I say, hey, like we weren't aware that there was a foundation issue, that's gonna, up our repair costs. And he understands that. And that was the only issue with that. But in terms of the actual title work, there was nothing. They were fine, clean title search. So.
Fire. Cool. And now we'll kind of get into like now that we like talked about your deals, we'll just talk a little bit more about like getting started, and like before everything, like before you were closing deals. So,
Hmm.
like, how would you explain your journey was like starting out in the business, and what did you change from then until now that actually got you closing deals?
Hmm. So I would say in the start of the business, I thought that I was like, oh, I'm not worthy or like I don't have any money. You know what I mean? Like I can't sit here and be like, oh, I'm gonna buy your house. Like how could I even say that? And I feel like it's kind of like analysis paralysis. Like you're just saying, I'm not going to actually do this until I'm, smarter or I have more money or just doing that. But you realize that if someone who spends the last 6 months actually putting in the work and actually taking action, you can study and do as much as you want besides actually working. And the person who works for 6 months is just going to come out more experienced and better. But that's kind of what my mindset was going in. I knew I wasn't the best at acquisitions. I knew I wasn't the best at dispositions, but I was like, I'm going to get better by calling people and displaying homes. I'm not going to keep watching YouTube videos and doing all this stuff, but it is important to study. But that's kind of what my journey was like. I'm really just focusing on putting in the input every day and then just detaching from what actually happens. So.
Got it. So you say like you attribute a good amount of your success just mainly due to mindset change.
Yeah, it was a big mindset change. Just like, that they talk about like feeling like it's already yours before you have it. And so I was kind of just focusing on that. And then, um, I did high ticket sales before that. So I felt like I had that like acquisitions or comfortability talking on the phone. And I just had to apply it to houses because it's the same thing. You're working with people at the end of the day. They want to be heard. And so I don't know, it just carried over and I felt like it was a smart decision.
Fire. And in terms of like the actual like hands-on real estate side of things, what do you think has like what skill set do you think increased the most?
I would definitely say definitely underwriting. It's definitely like a skill that you need to learn because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're underwriting, you're just going to throw out BS numbers,
Hmm.
and you can't really do that. So definitely like underwriting, understanding what homes are selling for in the area, understanding why some homes are going for more and some homes are going for less. And there's so many just little things that go into that you just can't understand unless you talk with someone who A has gone through it before and can teach it to you, or you B just keep doing it over and over until you fail and learn from your failures. So it definitely sped up the process. Just being in here and working with you guys for sure.
Fire. And in terms of going from like an industry like high ticket sales into real estate, what was kind of the like attraction behind it?
Yeah. So in high ticket sales, you're gonna basically just get commission for every sale you get, and so you're not capped, by how many sales I guess you can do, but there is kind of a limit to how many calls you can take and being able to outsource your work because at the end of the day, when you're doing high ticket sales, you're the one that's trying to sell the product every single time and you're still commission based. But with this model, there's actually room for you to scale and hire people under you and delegate so that you're not actually doing everything from start to finish. And there's just way, way higher of a ceiling because in high ticket sales, you can't make $20,000 from one check.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
Yeah, fair enough. Just less like, or it's more ran like a business rather than a job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like high ticket sales is not really a business. You're kind of just like a puppet.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, high ticket sales is a good way to make your first couple grand, but
Yeah, 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 exactly,
from there, definitely
exactly.
investing into a business is
Yeah,
a play. Yeah, cool. So, what do you think the biggest thing that we provided for you, or let me rephrase that? What do you think was the biggest thing that we provided for you in terms of like getting you successful in wholesaling?
yeah. So of course it was the marketing. That was number one. Just having a platform to actually do marketing on and do outreach. I was so clueless onto how am I going to call people myself. Like before I went into the program, I was literally pulling lists and just cold calling myself. Like not even a multi-line dialer. I was one by one just calling people. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how to take the next step forward. And then I did a texting blast with another company, and it was way more expensive than the way you guys do the marketing. So just being able to have an affordable marketing channel that I knew worked and I could actually get good outreach on. And then on top of that, there was the resources you guys provided. There was the one-on-one calls, the group calls, all the purchase agreement, assignment of contract, and just honestly just being able to ask you guys questions and then have my marketing right there. Those were just the two game changers for me.
Fire. And once we introduced like group calls and stuff like that, would you say it made the program a bit better?
Yeah, the group calls definitely did because you're in there with a group of guys who are all doing the same stuff you're doing. And so someone's going to ask a question that you would want to ask, but you just couldn't think of it at that time. Like in the group calls, there'll be 6 questions where I'm like, oh, I should have asked that, but now I know just because there's someone going through it with me, and they're going to have the same question. So
Fire. Cool. So we'll
yeah.
start back to the beginning. Like once you actually join the program, like obviously the first thing we have most guys do is send the call recordings. And I remember you obviously sent call recordings in. I think we had you practice with either Fizbos or some old cold call leads you had. Obviously since then there's been like crazy amounts of improvement. I remember just from like the first call that we reviewed to like the third or fourth, it was tremendous. What would you
Mhm.
say has been like the biggest thing that's improved like in the actual call with sellers for you?
Yeah. So the one thing for me is that when you're calling, the biggest thing is that like your reason behind why you're calling or just your mindset going into the call. If you're thinking, okay, I want someone to not realize the price of their home so that they can give me their home at a low price and that I can make a profit on it. It's like if you're doing that, like the universe is not going to reward you. You're just not going to get rewarded. So having the mindset that okay, this is a homeowner, they want to sell their house, they could be in a bad situation. I'm going to lay out all the options they have to sell their house, and if I'm the best option for them, great, I can help them with that. But if I'm not, then I'm going to push them in the right direction. So it's having the I'm going to help this person no matter what mindset. And I feel like having that mindset, it just you get rewarded by the universe so much more, and you just feel good about yourself too. So that was a big shift for me.
Yeah, staying morally correct. And as far as like actually talking to sellers, handling like harder motivations and really digging deeper in the calls, um, what would you say has like helped you drag out those calls and really reach people on like a deeper level?
Yeah. And so honestly, again, it just goes back to actually caring for who you're talking to, knowing that they're a human and they have emotions, and if they're telling you something, they clearly feel that comfortable to tell you it, and so they're trusting you. It's a home, it's an asset that they worked hard for, and so just really hearing them out, building that credibility, and then just having a heart for the homeowners. That's what I kind of think about it for, because it is our business. You want to make money, but I just think if you're ethical, you're going to get rewarded. And people can see when you're lying to them, and people can also see when you're being truthful. And I think that that builds trust between you and the seller. And so you honestly, when you are telling them the truth, that's when you do end up getting the bigger assignment fees and more contracts.
Yes, sir. Cool. And mentally, like throughout you starting out in the beginning, and then obviously once you start closing deals, was there ever a point where you wanted to quit?
I would definitely say I don't know if it was where I wanted to quit, because I was made the deal with myself that I was going to do this for the year, no matter how bad it got or how good it got. And just the big thing was just knowing that anything that's like worth working for, there's going to be those periods where you want to quit and you want to stop, and you realize that that is why there's people who fail at this, because in those moments when you want to quit, you just can't quit. And if you stay consistent and you stick it out longer than most people who would quit in that moment, you're just guaranteed for success. So it's really just about pushing through those moments. And if you can realize those moments before you're in them and know that you're going to go through them, that's kind of the sauce, I feel like.
Or, and that kept you from like ever wanting to quit or ever wanting to take a step back from the business?
Yeah, because when the moment did come, I was like, okay, this is part of the process. I'm excited that I feel like this, because I haven't felt like this, and this means I'm doing something right and actually going after something that's important and worth working for. So
Nice. Cool.
yeah.
And what we have to schedule soon is your offboarding call, where we're kind of like figuring out what you're going to do with the money you have now and like what you're going to do to scale up. But in your eyes right now, and just like generally thinking, what has, or what are you kind of leaning towards in terms of scaling up?
Yeah. So for me, I just added the third sub account. I have a VA, so I'm always gonna have that running and just keep trying to stack cash with that. And then I want to, I haven't gotten too much into it, but I definitely want to explore like all the PPC options, whether it be Facebook or Google. I know Google's a little bit more capital, based off what you've told me. But definitely get into PPC, and then I do think that once I do have the capital, I would run PPC in my hometown, and then that is where I'll actually do my flips and stuff because I'm here local. Um, and then, but yeah, just being able to find the deals, I feel like is a just a skill that I could have for the rest of my life. And there's so many different exit strategies I could do, whether I flip it, rent it out, or just wholesale it again, or wholesale it, just whatever it be. There's so many strategies, and so I just want to get as good as I can at all of those, and kind of be known in my market, and just do all the other exit strategies so that I can start building, long term wealth with the property. So.
Nice.
Mhm.
And last question to an absolute beginner, someone who's like looking at this video right now, maybe they're in high ticket sales, maybe they're working a 9 to 5, whatever the case may be. What would be your recommendation for them in terms of like them wanting to get started in real estate?
Mhm. So I would say, I was right in their positions where you're just looking around like, okay, what do I do? I don't know how to take a step forward. And I was literally in that position. But what you have to realize is that if you're on a 20-step staircase and at the top is reaching your goals, like step one is going through and figuring out what you like. And so if you're sitting here like, I don't know if I want to do this, like you're not going to waste time if you put pedal to the metal and go forward with this, because you're going to either realize that, okay, I like this or I don't like this. And if you don't like it, great. You just realize what you do and don't like, and you can move on to the next thing. And so you have to get that ball rolling where you're actually doing something so that you can figure out if you like it or not. And then now you can move on to what you like best and what you're good at.
Fire. And in terms of like actual like real estate knowledge, what do you think is the first step?
I would just say get on the phone and start calling, because you're going to learn what you need to know by being on the phones with these sellers, because they're going to bring something up about the property and you're going to be like, well, what's that? And then you're going to go and look it up and now you know what it is. And so if you just keep calling and you throw yourself into the fire of all the real estate stuff going on, just by being in the fire, you're going to get exposed to a lot of stuff that you just have to learn if you want to keep staying in the fire, or else you're going to get kicked out. So throw yourself in the fire and keep calling, and you're just going to slowly get smarter and realize what's actually important.
Dope, bro. That's all the questions I really had. Is there anything else you want to add towards the end, or
Yeah, I don't think I have anything, but I would definitely just recommend that if you're on the fence about anything, just start now so that you can actually figure out what you do and don't like. The worst thing you can do is sit around and keep procrastinating on if you're actually going to do this thing or not. And for me, I was literally talking to ChatGPT before I did this. I was like, if I wholesale, is it going to take 4 or 5 hours a day? Like, I don't want to work for 4 or 5 hours a day. And then I got into it, and it was like a fun 4 or 5 hours a day. Like I loved it, but I would have never known that if I just hadn't started. So.
exactly no more analysis paralysis?